TEDx talk that you did, I believe. And
I've done two. I've done one in the States and one in the UK.
And these were big affairs. And one of them that I picked up on, you were talking about this very thing about thoughts, about changing your thought and how impactful that can be.
Sure.
And I think,
well, it's been a sort of big part of my work for almost all of my career. You know, whether it's everything I do. You know, I mean, now everything is focused on nature, and I ran this research project to evidence the impact that nature has on human health, well-being, and behaviour. Bought the farm and ended up where I am now, and so everything is very much that the front end is very much nature focused, but the golden thread throughout everything has always been about changing behaviour and thinking differently in order to achieve different results. And so actually the cornerstone of, while it all is wrapped up in a sort of bundle of nature and environment and sustainability, the cornerstone of that is thinking differently about the way that you interact with the world in order to maximize your positive impact on the environment. You know, it's all about, it's the same thing. It's, you know, when I talk to leadership teams, it doesn't matter what the organization tells me is wrong. Fundamentally, it's going to come down to how those individuals think differently in order to affect different results. Because, I mean, look, I've been speaking for 15 years. This year's year 15, I think. To, you know, at conferences and events all over the world, literally all over the world, 24 different countries, I think we counted last. And every single one of those organizations, almost exclusively, you know, at the end of every year, I go through my notebook, because every time I do a conference call to kind of do some exploring, I write notes. At the end of every year, I go through that notebook, sort of a ritual I've had for a few years now, to see what the common themes were, what we're picking out. And whenever they say we're in a unique situation, or we've got a very unique set of circumstances, or this is, you know, a very new or exclusive problem for us, I put a little asterisk next to it. And increasingly over the last 5 years, everybody's got a unique problem. And those unique problems are all the same, which is interesting in many ways. I like to look at that and think, well, isn't that interesting that you are so introverted with your own problem that you haven't looked elsewhere? It's that whole thing when someone says, oh, how do I do this? And somebody else says, have you Googled it? Oh, no, I haven't. Well, you will not be the only person in the world who has had that problem. There will be an answer like there. And it's interesting in the corporate sector, you don't really get that. So the idea of getting people to think both, people, right? So whether you're at home or at work is irrespective. Getting them to think differently about the way that they approach something. I forget whose concept this is, and it's started to be used quite colloquially, and it's a shame I don't know who it is. I'm really well read. I read a lot, but I don't think I've ever read this. I might well have done, but I've heard it lots. And it's the idea that fear and excitement are the same, almost identical biological responses, in the sense that it's a flooding of adrenaline, tiny bit of cortisol, and it's your brain that changes whether or not you're scared or you're excited. Because ultimately your body's doing the same thing. You've got an elevation of blood pressure, elevation of heart rate, secondary to elevation of adrenaline, a bit of cortisol in there as well. And so something stimulatively has created that to happen. But your brain saying, oh, I'm excited for this to happen, or I'm scared that this might happen, or I'm fearful of this. But they're the same response, ultimately.
Maybe one without the paralysis.
Yeah.
Because fear and panic bring on paralysis.
Uh-huh.
They bring on that.
Yes. Well, they're interesting. I mean, it'd be something I don't think you would ever be able to test. You're talking about the flight or fight response, the moment before that, the car's
coming at you, you see it, and you just tense. Sure. You can't react to it, whereas...
Yes, but that's different, because, of course, you would never see a car coming towards you and be excited about that. So the stimulus has changed your interpretation of the event. But if you were to jump out of a plane,
right,
some people are so excited about that. And I mean controlled, as in...
Like, this is great.
Skydive. Yeah. Whereas other people will be absolutely petrified, but the same thing is happening inside. Or a job interview. Some people will be, I love going, or an audition. Some people love auditions. They thrive for auditions. The vast majority of people probably are very anxious about auditions and nervous, but it's the same biological response. It's just the way that you think about it.